Hey, welcome back to the Isaac Abrams Show. I'm your host, Isaac Abrams. Today's very special guest, comedian, writer, actor, director, producer, and philanthropist, Mr. Drew Lynch. Welcome to the show, Drew.
Thank you, Isaac.
Thank you for being here. I discovered this morning that... actually, before I start,
Sure,
because I'm highly caffeinated,
sure.
Tell us how we can find you on the internet.
Fuck, man, you just type in my name. That's fine. It's the Drew Lynch for all my socials. I hate plugging socials because someone took Drew Lynch and I never wanted to be the. And people say it back to me and they say the, and it's like that just feels more of a. That just feels more of a bolstered image that I don't really have.
Like
I
two
don't
E's?
demand. Yeah, it's not that.
The English, the...
It's not that at all. I'm not that person, but you should respect me. But it's just the Drew Lynch everywhere.
Cool.
Yeah.
I would assume that if people are watching this, it's because they're a fan of yours already and they search for you. So I don't know how many new fans you're going to grab off of this, but I do appreciate your time.
I hope it to be many. I have high expectations.
Tens and tens of people.
Tens. A whole handful.
Yeah, my mom.
That's all I want, man.
Your mom, Jane Lynch. Yeah. Are you related to Jane Lynch?
I'm not. And it's funny. A lot of people think that I'm related to Stephen Lynch, the comedian. Stephen Lynch actually has a brother named Drew Lynch who's also a comedian, and so people will, when they meet me after shows, they'll be like, I'm a fan of your brother's too, and I do have a brother, and he's in logistics. So
I like to ship stuff.
Yeah, so I was like, yeah, man, he'll get it to you. And so even when I deny it too, I'll say, oh no, that's because Stephen Lynch has a brother named Drew, and I'm not him. And they're like, yeah, okay. So they think that I'm doing like a lower profile thing, and I'm like, no, we're not. We're just simply not related. I cannot iterate this enough.
Is he the one that took your social name? Or
yeah. Yeah. Well, I think it's just some guy. It's always like some guy in New York who's like, who is into like he's on LinkedIn, like it's like some guy, and then it's his LinkedIn link, and you're just like,
right,
fucking guy, and he hasn't tweeted, and is like his first tweet like trying this Twitter thing, and then that fucking that
yeah
guy.
And he hasn't and you can't get a hold of him, you can't even buy it from him.
I would yeah and I would fear the worst if I did, and we connected, and he's like, yeah, I'll give it to you, but it's it's 20 grand in Bitcoin or something. It's always going to be something ridiculous. So.
I need it in a plastic bag under the river.
Yeah.
That happened to. I just changed my name to Abrams from my old last name.
What was your old last name?
Heckert.
Oh, okay.
Hard to say.
Yeah.
So
Isaac Heckert.
Yeah.
Isaac Abrams sounds great. It sounds like an agency, but I mean Abrams is. But
yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Well, I was hoping for the JJ connection. And it is my middle name.
Nice.
My middle name is Abraham, so I just
okay.
shortened it. And one of the biggest comedy special directors, his last name is Abrams. So I want to get confused for a bunch of other Abrams.
Oh, good. Yeah. I mean, why make a name for yourself?
Right.
Yeah. You got so many other...
I just want to be associated with other famous people accidentally.
You just want to accidentally stumble into opportunities.
What have you done? Nothing. But my fake brother has done Star Trek.
You might actually, I think you will. I think you will get opportunities.
Oh, yeah. Something I'm completely unprepared for will be like, hey, do you want to direct a Marvel movie?
Yeah, Marvel. It does feel like a Marvel opportunity is coming, dude.
Yeah, I mean, they give them out to just everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. We worked on a TV show together.
We did. It was, which is crazy because I don't really remember much of that experience, but it was the Cassandra French's finishing school.
Yeah, they dropped For Boys. It used to be For Boys.
Oh, yeah. The whole title was weird. It felt like a Panic at the Disco song where it was like, all right, this is long.
Close the goddamn door.
Yeah. It felt just so like, you have Panic songs are always like, they're just elaborate. Like, go into a coffee shop is the way to get, sick from your mother. It's weird.
Yeah.
So, how is it that because you said you were the AD.
Yeah.
What happened with the other AD?
So, the producer, Ben, is a dear friend of mine, and we had worked on a bunch of commercials and TV shows prior. He came on a little bit later. The first AD was a base camp PA. No one bothered to check his resume.
Oh.
So they just assumed, he could do it.
Yeah.
And then the show was directed, as you know, by two high-profile actors, one of which was more high-profile after the show. She got a new HBO show.
Right.
And then it was the other guy from that Showtime
Josh,
show.
right?
Josh,
Yeah. He's a nice guy, yeah.
Yeah, he was nice to the cast.
Oh, was he not nice to crew?
He screamed at the crew.
Oh no!
Like on
I'm
my
sorry.
first day, I was like, if this is going to be how it is, bro.
Yeah.
But they started this is hot tea. The directors would put stuff in their storylines that would fuck with the next episode. Like one of the two of them, I won't say which, put a fence around the hero house. So in the next episode, when the cast had to go to the neighbors, they had to go out and around down to the sidewalk and over instead of just walking through the grass.
Oh no!
So then that escalated. Every episode, they were like, well, what can I put in their episode to fuck them up? And they just bink, 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 bink.
That's terrible.
Yeah. So this is the stuff we were protecting the cast from. We didn't want you guys to know about that.
Oh.
And there was just a constant war.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, that's the show that made me quit TV.
Really?
Yeah, I'll never do another TV show.
So you didn't have like a great experience. I mean, I had, I think, just a neutral experience. I mean,
Yeah.
as an actor, like I talked with some of the cast that were on, you know, they were on it, and they were nice enough, and you know, I'm always nice to the crew. But it did feel very, it felt very guerrilla as far as its pace and how it was shot, and it did sometimes feel a little hectic at moments, but that's every set. So
Yeah.
you know, but that's just crazy to like that adversarial sort of that contentious sort of back and forth between the two of them. That's not a good environment at all.
Yeah, and then towards the end of the season, the DP was making a play with the executive producers to direct season 2. I'm like, buddy, you're putting the cart before the horse.
Yeah,
Let's get
yeah.
this one on
Yeah.
air first.
Yeah.
And there was just so much politics going on.
Yeah,
in that show.
and I heard that the show didn't continue because people on that show pissed somebody off at network. So
Because they had done it before 2 years earlier, and they only did a pilot, and then we did a whole season, but it was kind of unsanctioned.
yeah,
And I didn't really keep a whole lot of track of it.
yeah, that sucks because I loved the character, and I loved all the stuff that we got to do.
Doug,
with
it was
but-
very funny.
Yeah, I loved it, and it felt very much, you know, anytime you can funnel how neurotic you are into a character and call it a character, but it's actually how you are. That's the best.
Everybody's like, dude, you're really doing some great fucking acting. You're like,
it's like-
totally acting.
It's just so like it's just so easy to just be so neurotic when that's, I feel like, the way you are. So that's why I loved it. And then you know, but yeah, and interesting. That's crazy that happened. I told you that I saw the casting director in Vermont, where there was like this karaoke night. They have like this like karaoke night at Vermont Comedy Club, and I was there with my wife, and she just literally, the casting director just came in, and apparently she's from Vermont and her mom's out there in Vermont, and ever since the pandemic they were out there. So I thought that was like crazy coincidence, and now like seeing you here and knowing that you worked on the show, like it's just so random.
That must mean they're bringing season 2 back.
I guess so, man. It's probably out in the ether. It's directed by Isaac Abrams.
Oh man, brother of JJ. Yeah,
brother, lover, husband.
Do you get back to Vermont a lot?
Yeah, so my wife is from there, and we bought a house out there over the summer. That'll be like our second home sound. I've never said second home. That sounds so
bougie.
That sounds like the Drew Lynch has a second home. So we have like that'll be like our.
It's a manor.
It's an estate.
The Drew Lynch manor.
There is a cellar. And so we got that because it's on this lake, and it's in this area where my wife grew up, and we're gonna try to renovate it and have it rented out for like Airbnb, like second sort of passive income.
And your wife is famously a skier.
She is a world champion at cross country skiing, and she actually might try to go back over during the winter time to qualify for the next Olympics, which would be crazy, and then quit because of mental health.
Just qualify to make sure you can get it, and they go, I didn't want it anyway. I'm out. So was that some of the impetus of getting the house in Vermont? Was it like she can train in the winter a little bit, or?
I think so. I think it was also just like it's just such a beautiful property, and the opportunity regardless of however the market looks, you can always have something by like a lake, and then there's this outdoor center that's right across the street from it, and people go there during the wintertime, and then there's sculling during the summertime. So it's a very peaceful place, and I feel like I don't know if long term, I don't think our goal is to ever necessarily live there, but to have a place there where we can visit and have other people stay, and potentially, list it for Airbnb and stuff like that. It's always a good like diversifying sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else do you have in your portfolio? Are you into Bitcoin?
Let me tell you, I have no idea. I know I have a portfolio. I have no idea.
Some guy named Fred on Wilshire is just directing it.
Yes, it's moderate aggressive. I don't know what that means.
I don't either.
Yeah, but that's what they said. They're always like, yeah, it's always good. People tell you it's always a good investment, and then you spend all that money to get it, and then they're like, and then you're just like, was it? Because I don't have any money.
Yeah, sorry, all your Bitcoin's worth shit now.
Yeah. So
does it affect the way that you route your tour? Do you want to like hit the East Coast a little bit and then go see the house and check in and like?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think we always try to see her family out there in Vermont when we're kind of in the East Coast area, and then my family's in the Midwest, so we'll always try to tack on other days after something, just to see if it if we can make it work around like holidays and stuff like that. So maybe it might have an influence in whether we stop by or not.
And you stuck it out here in LA through the pandy.
Yeah, we were here for a few months actually. We were here for a few months, and then we got to the very end of all streaming. We were complete, like we finished all of it.
It just says the end at Netflix.
Yeah, it's just done. Everything was done, and our eyes were tired, and we were like, we gotta like, this is not healthy. So we actually went to Vermont from the back half of 2020, and then when shows started to pick up, then we kind of then we moved out from there. But it was great to be out there in Vermont for the pandemic, because it's outdoors, and you can do so many like the kayaking and hiking and all kinds of things that I don't really think come naturally to me. I think I'm very introverted. I like to be inside. I don't mind just sitting and like writing and then watching a thing and then going back to write. Like that's ideal for me. But for her, she's so she's just I think I have a very like cat-like nature, and I think she's very dog-like, and she like if it's raining, it's beautiful, and for me it's an inconvenience, and so there's those differences I think are very apparent, and for her, she was so excited to be out there, and I do think that against my better judgment, it is the healthier thing to be doing, stuff where you're outside and stuff like that. So
have you always been an indoor cat?
I think so, yeah. I think every relationship that succeeds has a cat and a dog. I think there's a world where there can be two dogs in a relationship, but I don't think there can be two cats. I think I think there's a lot of comics, or not even comics, but just people who in general, they'll have some sort of metaphor where they go, well, I'm like this person and I'm like this person. And for me, I think I've best broken it down into when I meet a couple, I'm able to easily identify if that person's a dog or if that person's a cat. And I just think that's the relationship dynamic that can work. Like I think like if there's someone like a cat is very like, I like my space and I want things to be on my terms, and it's kind of my needs first, and then the dog's like, yeah, that's fine, you're great, you're the best, I love, my wife is like the most supportive, like selfless, amazing person, and I'm just so lucky to have that because I am so like I always I have to work at being less selfish, and then sometimes I talk to a friend who's like, yeah, I dated this girl and she was very much like this and very much like this, and I was like, well, that's because you're a cat and she's also a cat. You get two cats in a room, it's not going to work. Yeah. And then there's a friend of mine who is in a relationship they work, but they're like two dogs. Like it's just like they're like watching them together. Like one of them's like, I want to go, like, let's go for a sunrise hike. And the other one's like, I was thinking the exact same thing, and it's like,
I can't wait.
Yeah, I can't wait. I've already, I got my Nalgene. It's like, like that stuff is.
But two cats would be like, hey, fuck you.
Yeah.
Well, I was just thinking the same thing.
Exactly. It's exactly right. I mean, it's so I just, I always, maybe that's a lot to break off this early in a podcast, but
no, it's great. It actually just made me think about the current relationship that I'm in.
Oh shit!
And I was like, holy shit, I'm a cat. I don't want to go anywhere. And she's a dog, and she wants to go. I'm like, babe, you pick the restaurants, and she's a foodie, so she loves to pick the restaurants. Yeah. But the concession that I had to make was, if I'm letting her pick the restaurant, I can't then go, oh, I fucking hate that place.
Yeah.
I got to go, well, I said she could pick it.
Yeah.
She picked it.
Yeah,
And
I know.
Fortunately, she likes to try a new place every time, so we've never been in the same place twice.
That's great.
So, and she's like, well, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
Because every once in a while, she's like, no, today's about you. I'm like, I want to sit on the couch, and I want to watch SEAL Team on CBS for 12 hours straight. Because I'm supposed to be writing comedy.
SEAL Team. Such a specific reference.
David Boreanaz from Bones.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, is he on that show?
He is.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That guy's great.
And I worked with him on Bones for a little while, doing the promos for like 4 years. Normally I don't watch anything when someone's a real person. Mm-hmm. But man, the SEAL Team thing, 2 reasons. They shoot it out at Blue Sky Ranch, and I've filmed there a bunch of times. Mm-hmm. And every time I go out there, they've added like a new base.
Oh,
so I'm like,
great.
oh, I've been there. I know that little bag of dirt right there. And then when they're not at Blue Sky, I know all the other locations. So and they play with guns. It's fun.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Guns in a fun way.
Guns in a fun way.
Fun guns. Yeah.
It's just America kicking ass every week.
You're just like bleeding heart.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you just got that property in Vermont. Freedom is freer up there.
Yeah, it is. It is. Freedom. I forget. Freedom and unity, I think, is what the thing is. And then New Hampshire's is live free or die.
Those are your two options.
Yeah. So, and they're the same half of like the same state. Like one's upside down, right?
Yeah.
So it's one state, but
we couldn't have an odd number. We had to have.
Yeah, exactly. And so one has like state-free taxes, and it's crazy. The difference from Vermont to New Hampshire, like that might be how you can break down relationships too. Is one person's a Vermont person and one person's New Hampshire.
Right. So you live directly next to Bernie Sanders?
Yeah, he just sits in his chair out there
with his arms crossed in his tan jacket, just staring at you, kayaking.
There are so many Bernie fans out there. It's wild. I mean, I don't think anybody has more support for their governor. He's a governor? Senator?
I think he's a senator.
Senator.
Is it like he's the president in Vermont, just like Trump's still the president in Florida?
Yes, that's exactly the same.
Cool, yeah. Yeah. When Ron DeSantis isn't shipping Puerto Ricans up there on flights.
He's still, I mean, Trump's still the president, I don't know, in a lot of places.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Especially my heart.
Yeah, everywhere, especially there.
He's the president of my heart.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no, Bernie's got crazy support. Bernie stickers, and then Ben and Jerry's stickers.
Oh yeah, have you been to the OG Ben and Jerry's?
Hell yeah, many times.
Yeah.
Too many times. But they give you free ice cream at the end, and then my wife's favorite thing is to go do the tour, and then she knows all the punchlines to their tour jokes, and so she'll say them, and then it really flusters the guide.
Oh, she says it right, but she cuts them off.
Yeah, like they'll say, does anybody know like a this and this or whatever, and it's like a silly punny joke.
She's like,
and then
buffalo.
She'll say like the answer. She'll be like, move along, and they're like, they don't have like a backup answer, and they're like, that's right.
They just hand her an application. It's like, you want to work here?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Did you know this? This may be a fun fact about Ben and Jerry. During Pandy, I did a daily pop culture show. We did 400 episodes that no one saw. One of those episodes was about Ben and Jerry. Mm-hmm. My show was called Misty and Ike. We shot all of our promo pictures with Ike, me, on the left. But Ben and Jerry, every single picture, it's always Ben on the left and Jerry on the right. So you would go, Ben and Jerry.
Yeah.
They always pose like that.
Yeah.
And I thought that was super smart.
I do think that's super smart. That's easy.
Yeah.
And I think Ben, one of them doesn't have taste.
Weird.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
That's why they put so much like texture into the ice cream. That's why they're like potato chips and fucking
cheese rocks.
Yeah, cheese. Cheese curds. Yeah.
Right.
So like that's why they do that is because one of them doesn't have taste. So he was like, well, then let's go for texture.
This one's called A Trip to the Zoo, and it's just like a hoof.
Yeah.
And banana.
The miscellaneous drawer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They retire flavors after a while.
I know,
too,
it's
right?
devastating.
Yeah.
My favorite flavor was creme brulee, and then that was in my senior year of high school, and I loved it, and then they just discontinued it, which is like I bought so much, so I don't see how they could have. But
did they send you a personal letter with just a middle finger? Like, fuck you, Drew.
Yeah.
This is over. We heard you liked it. It's fucking out of here.
Yeah. But it's on like recycled ink and like it's whatever fucking recycled paper because it's from Vermont.
And it's ransom note.
Yeah, they're always trying like new flavors too. So and I think they have like different markets all across the world where they like try different flavors and stuff like that. So
yeah.
But
I haven't had the pleasure of going to the OG store or taking the tour.
Yeah, you've never been. You've been to Vermont, but just never
Vermont.
to
I don't
the
know.
comedy club there.
Definitely not the comedy club there, and I can't remember why I was even in Vermont. So maybe let's say I haven't been there.
Okay. Yeah, it's basically the same as not being there.
Right. If you don't remember, it's like I've been to Canada 42
evidence.
times. Do you remember or have any pictures? No. Then you've never been to Canada.
There, yeah.
Or it's like when people fly through somewhere. I'm like, have you ever been to Nashville? They're like, no, but I've flown through
I've been
it.
to the airport. Yeah.
Well, then you haven't been there.
Yeah, that doesn't count.
No.
One of the airports that I was in so did you know Arizona, if you don't have a sideways ID, they won't serve you alcohol if you don't have a sideways ID. So I was 21 and my ID wasn't, so I got my ID like this.
Yeah.
It wasn't renewed yet. But I got my ID like this because when I originally got my ID out here, I was 20, and so it was like this.
They make underage vertical IDs?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
wow.
if you're under 21, it goes like this. And so when I moved out here, I was 20. I got my California license.
Yeah.
I passed the test, which it's ridiculous that they even test you out here. As if anyone's adhering to
No
what it is
Uber
they
driver
learned
has a
on their
driver's
test.
license.
Yeah. So like this, and then when you get your ID, it says it's good for whatever 6 years or something, or 4 years or whatever.
Yeah.
And so when I started to like travel, I was maybe 22, maybe 23, I think maybe 23 when I started to travel for stand-up and stuff, and my ID was still like this. I didn't have to renew it yet, and it says how old you are. Like, it's not going to miraculously change my date of birth just because it's upright.
It's not a hologram.
Yeah, exactly. So then they wouldn't serve me alcohol in the Arizona airport, and they're like, sorry, your ID needs to be sideways. And I was like, but my date of birth clearly says I'm 23. I'm 23. You should be able to serve me. The serving alcohol, is the age older? Is it older up here where you have to be 23 in order to drink? And they're like, no, it's still 21, but you have to have a vertical ID, or a horizontal ID. And I was like, well, can you just turn your fucking head sideways, please, and give me? I'm a nervous flyer, and I'm doing a college where it's gonna be terrible, and I'm gonna bomb. So, do you mind serving me alcohol so I can get through this life? So yeah, that was really I didn't know that, but that's apparently how it goes in the state of Arizona.
Well, they're definitely getting cooked in the sun a little too long out there.
Yeah, but Trump's still president there, so he'll fix that.
Oh, that's true. That's true. But you started out doing NACA shows?
Yes, I did. I did a lot of the college showcases, which are always fun. I don't know if you've ever seen or been or done one of those, but
I feel like I have because I watched Pete Holmes Crashing.
Yeah. Okay. So then, you have. Yeah. You've been there. You've been to Canada.
It's the same. I saw it on television, so I have experienced it.
You've been to Canada. So it is terrible. I mean, it's like you go up, and then, but actually, before you go up, it can be anyone. It's never going to be a comic right before you. So it's not comedy, and it's college students, so they're very particular about what it is that they want to hear, and what it is you can talk about. Like, you can't go up there and talk about like politics or socioeconomic trend. You can't. It has to be like very PC, very self-deprecating. And then I think I've sometimes you'll have like a music act that goes up before you. Sometimes it'll be like an at home like DJ, and he just kind of like, I wrote these, and and it gets really weird, and he's like, I've got neon necklaces for everyone, and then he tosses those out, and then you go out and you're just like, man, when you bag your own groceries, it's stupid. So one of the hardest bombs I've ever had was there was this spoken word poet. She went up and she had this crazy powerful poem at the end where she was talking about like slavery and like racial injustices and she was like, and the storm of injustice and imprisonment and rape and like all that, and like just these things, and it was like, I mean, people were like blown away. And then I go out there and I'm just like, yeah, you go out and you're just like, so I'm from the Midwest, and it's
hubcaps are weird,
yeah,
right?
It's just like, yeah, and to just, it was just so, it's just so awkward. So
she's like, let's start the revolution. Who's with me? Let's go. And like, you go out, there's nobody left.
Yeah, it was just so awkward, man.
Well, speaking of spoken word, you just did a TED Talk.
Yes, I did.
How was that?
It was actually, it was really, really fun. The process was, on their end amazing and fluid, and they were very they were pleasant. I took all the way up until 4 days before I delivered it to really be done with it.
Wow.
I just obsess and
writing and rewriting.
Just obsessing. And the first draft that I sent, because it's supposed to be 15 minutes. The first draft that I sent was very jokey, and it's almost approached like how it would be like a set,
Yeah.
And I almost wish it was, because if they were like, we need you to write just a set, I'd be like, oh, I could do,
Got you.
15 minutes I can do.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I enjoyed it. I knew the challenge was going to come with me actually saying something that had meaning and something that like I would not bail out on. Kind of like how you were talking about, like when you want to like really go in on a bit, and sometimes it's just easier to just bail out and do something that's easier.
Yeah.
So for me, the first draft that I sent was like very jokey, and that was their feedback. And they were like, any time that it got like meaningful, you kind of eject it out. So then I went back and struck a lot of that stuff, and then they were like, well, now it's a bit too serious. And then I was like, okay, so I have to find like some sort of middle ground. So I did like Toastmasters classes over the summer, and I did and I worked with the producers a few times. I ran it for like every person that I could get in front of, just to get their feedback, because you only get one shot to do it,
Yeah.
And I didn't even title it until like 5 days before.
Yeah.
That was the most difficult part, is just like, what am I writing about? Because every TED Talk, I think the ones that aren't about, technology or the advances in modern medicine or whatever, every TED Talk that is not that is basically breaking down very similar life lessons, which is, the balance of work and not, and how you can have a healthier you, and being curious about yourself, and, in equalizing your workplace with your family. It's all the same sort of whatever. So you basically have to have your hook that's so specific that it gets that same sort of adage, but it said in an interesting, or delivered in a in a way with somewhat of a that the different sort of take.
Yeah.
So my topic was why curiosity gets you farther than ambition. That was what it was about, and it took me forever to just figure out what I was titling it, what I was going to do with it.
Oh, interesting. Is it? Sorry.
No.
That
Take your time.
I mean, I'm the editor of this show, so I can cut out all the dead air.
No, that's okay. I hope it's in.
No, that's fascinating because I consider myself a pretty ambitious person.
Mm-hmm.
And I also consider myself pretty curious. Mm-hmm. So, like, my first initial thought was, like, which one am I?
Sure.
But you can be both.
Yeah, I mean, the ideal, I think what I ended up talking about was your natural inclination is the thing that's going to come easiest to you. But I think we're at our best when you are embracing your opposite, when you're going against that grain. So I think I'm the same way. I think I'm very ambitious and I want things to go exactly the way that I wanted them to go. But it's interesting because when I look back at the trajectory of my life, not just from a career front, but also on the personal front, I found that for whatever reason, I'm at my best when things don't work out. And there was a part in the talk where I went up on a line. I forgot what I said because I said something, and I had written it to be somewhat funny in that moment, and the audience laughed, but I never rehearsed it with having that laugh, so it kind of I never rehearsed it with knowing they were going to laugh there, I guess, like that. Yeah. So it threw me out of it, and it took me a second to like get back on track, and so I had to riff for a little bit until I could find my place, and then when and then it picked right back up. But when I got off stage, I apologized to my producer. I was like, I'm so sorry. Like, I was like, I can't believe I went up on that line. And he was like, no. The way that you were riffing and recovering was, we're probably gonna keep it in because it's an example of the talk. Like something happened, you had to go off script, and so and that incidentally, he said when he talked to a lot of the people during the intermission or whatever, he said like that was their favorite part of that. So that'll probably be something that stays in. So it's just I found it to be so ironic way after the fact that it was like, oh, of course I'm not going to be able to just go with my game plan all the way through this. Of course something's going to have a wrench thrown into it, and I'll have to be battle tested once again for this very concept I'm trying to explain to people.
Yeah.
So interesting. So it was definitely interesting. I won't watch it back. I'll have like either my wife or my manager or somebody watch it and tell me how it goes. But I struggle so badly with like imposter syndrome, so I can't like watch it back. I'll just be like, was that part okay? And they're like, yeah, that part's great. Well, and then whatever.
There's so many things there that we could probably run out the rest of this hour with.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
No.
talked for so long there.
That is absolutely fascinating. I think at one point you touched on what we learn from failure and like the progress that we make. But I think, I don't want to say as comedians because I don't consider myself one yet, but as performers, I'll say that because I'll give myself that. We like to plan for perfection. We rehearse. And we write and we perform and we think nothing's going to fuck this up. I've got it locked in. Yeah. And then, of course, in the moment, something could happen. You could lose your spot or an audience member could respond adversely or positively. They could just change the flow. Yeah. But what I'm a perfectionist in my performances, I think. But like in my regular life or in like this podcasting, I think I'm a perfectionist. But personally, I'm kind of a mess, right? So absolutely hate failure in my entertainment life. Yeah. Completely accept failure in my personal life.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's an interesting dynamic. Usually it's a person that carries themselves to both.
Yeah, I think I just can't be this particular at home. Like if I'll leave a dish in the sink for 2 days or something like that. It doesn't bother me there.
Interesting.
But here, because I not only do this for me, I do this for other people. So if this isn't perfect, how can I do it for someone else? How can I be a professional at it if this isn't perfect? Yeah. So I'm not sure where I'm going with that, but I do think it's interesting that like I hate to fail, but I've learned the most from failing.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what I'm saying. Like, there's some iteration of that every time. I think Will Smith has like a quote about that too, where it's just it's failing all the time, and you're always learning from that. And I think the word failure is something that a lot of people, and the idea of failure is the thing that people have sort of a daunting reaction to. Like they can be overwhelmed with the idea of failing. And so I think rewording it to where it's like trying something that is just being willing to try something that you wouldn't ordinarily try expands your experience in a way that you are not even aware could be applied to something in the future. That's kind of the point. It's kind of like you have no idea by going to a painting class where that there's something that you learn or even someone you meet that somehow is taken away and applied to your professional life. And we always know like this quote about like the journey becomes the destination, but it's like I think there's a part of that has to apply to people who are like us, who are so work-oriented and such perfectionist types, that in order for that quote to make sense, you have to have something in the beginning of it. And I think I think it is that if the target of your if the mastery of your target performance is at that junction where the journey becomes the destination, then that's when it can. So it's not like it's not that you. I think it's so easy for people who are naturally curious or people who are naturally maybe type B type personalities. It's easy for them to accept that quote.
Yes.
To just be like, oh well, the journey itself becomes the destination. Like, it's very easy for them to just accept that. I think my wife is that way. I have friends that way. My mom's that way. They're very just like, oh, that's it's all a part of it. And for someone who comes in and has a plan and needs the validation of the efforts of our ordering how something went. It's very difficult to try and explain that. So I think that was my point. And I think the reason that the talk itself was so difficult for me was because I knew that the inherent lesson I was trying to teach is one that I'm always resisting as well. So I didn't want to be an imposter in delivering it. So that meant that I was going to have to revisit it and be like, no, you need to accept the fact that you can't just tell people this. You have to also be this way.
Yeah. So you had to expose yourself a little bit. You had to shine a light on some dark areas that you hadn't looked at in a while.
Yeah. I mean, it's just I don't want to go up there and just be like, I live my life this way. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't all the time. I have to constantly check in by being like, no, like, this is okay if you have this detour, or if you don't do this thing, or if this doesn't work out all the time, which, it's exhausting, but it's part of a balanced life, I guess.
And it is also a good way to I think check in is a really good word for it. It's like, some people are just on a path and they're like, this is singular focus. This is what I have to be doing. But like, sometimes your path can change.
Sure.
And a lot of times it does. I mean, they say the average person has 6 different careers or jobs throughout the course of their life.
Yeah.
So when you have a singular focus like entertainment or being a comic, it's like, which opportunities are going to be good? Should I take a couple months off and do this movie? Am I getting offers for movies? Why am I not getting offers for movies?
Yeah.
There's all this self-introspection, and a lot of it can turn negative because it's like, what you don't want to do. Like this, I'll give you an example. For me, the content that I was putting out when I just relaunched season 2 of this show, I started putting out clips, and they weren't getting any traction. And they were too long. They were almost a full minute long, and there was dead air. And then I cut out the dead air, and they got a little bit more traction. And then I made a better thumbnail, and they got more traction. It was the fact was I wasn't making good content, but I was putting a lot of effort into the show, and I wanted to be validated by the view count and having it reciprocated and having people like, "Wow, your show's so great."
Yeah.
But I was 90% to the goal line. I just hadn't finished the other 10% that made people consume the show.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the hardest thing for me was like, oh, it's not good.
Yeah.
The show is good. But to get people to watch the show, you need to clip the show. The clips are not good yet.
Right.
And as the clips got better, the show started doing better. And
yeah.
I had to look inside and go, I literally watched a YouTube video about it. I was like, why am I not getting traction on my shorts? And the number one thing, they were like, your shorts probably aren't that good. Because if they're good and they're funny, people are going to share them. And I was like, oh, it's the last thing I had considered.
Yeah.
I was like, they have to be good. I made them.
Right.
So people must be sharing these all over the internet.
Yeah.
And if it was funny and if it was good, people would share it. Like that's the litmus test.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a great way of putting it. And I think it's that we're now in this day and age too, where you so quickly can either get what's the word? You can be decompressed. You can be, unenthusiastic. You can be deflated by the direct or indirect result of something.
Yeah.
And it's so hard, and so you almost are not as focused because your options are so many. It's like it's like you look at like in an In-N-Out burger. There's like 3 options on their menu, and you love it because you're just like, oh, I just want that thing, and that's it. Yeah. And they've created a successful business model after something like that, and so is so many other businesses. But you go to fucking Applebee's and you're overwhelmed for however long.
Yeah. Or what's the one with the 1,000-page menu?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, it's a sit-down place. My brother's girlfriend works there, and I can't remember it.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Let me know.
I will. I'll think of it as soon as we cut. I have a couple questions about the sketches that you shoot.
Okay, sure.
Shifting gears.
Sure.
You mentioned earlier that you don't like to watch yourself.
Yeah.
So do you cut your own sketches?
So I used to, and now I have an editor who does it, but I do watch the sketch. It takes a lot out of me. I have to I don't know. It's because I have such a critical eye for edits, but when it comes to what, and I think if I were to watch someone else or write for someone else, I could do it. It could just be forever. I know for whatever reason that's a skill set of mine that I don't advocate well for myself, but when it comes to that, I know I can. I just for whatever reason, it's just when it comes to it being me or me being the subject or me me being the person who has the responsibility of delivering it for whatever that art is, it's difficult. Mm-hmm. And so when I am the person who watches the sketches and I'll go, okay, this is too short. I need to cut this. You need to change this. This goes back. We don't need this part, whatever. I want it to be much shorter. I think we can add this back in, all that stuff. That's what I love about stand-up. It's this perfect combination of like writing and math. You're moving things around. There's a formula that you can find. And then and then just filling the content in is like the creative part. So I think at working that muscle of that mathematic side of me is the thing that I think is the most appealing for doing like sketches. It's so hard to just watch myself because I'm just like, you dumb fuck, just like, you fucking face. I hate that delivery, And so when we film, it'll be, we'll have the take the very first time, but I have to just keep doing it because I'm, for whatever reason, I'm not said. And sometimes it's said the exact same way. There's a razor thin difference between maybe the two, and I don't know. It's just this.
Is it something that only you can see, but you know the difference, like the nuance in your own face?
Yeah, someone else can't. My assistant will be like, they're identical. These are identical takes. And I'm like, see, this is why you're weak.
Yeah. And by the way, you're fired. Get your shit and get out.
I'm just kidding. I would never talk like that. But in my head, I'm just like, no, you just don't get it. And they're just like, no, we've ran it by other people. It's the same. And I'm just like,
yeah. But you can see the truth and intention in your performance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whether or not they could be delivered exactly the same way, but you can remember what you were thinking when you delivered one performance over the other.
And I don't know, like, there's just this dichotomy of this just like, I need this to be so perfect because I think the potential for it is endless. And the other side is, I don't deserve this. I'm terrible. I shouldn't be doing that. And like, it's which one are you going to indulge, Yeah. And they're constantly battling each other. And I know people who they operate just in that first land where it's amazing to watch. Like they have the healthiest brain ever. And on that same note, the quality, in my opinion, of some of those things might suffer a little bit, but they're still just so like, I'm putting it out. It doesn't matter. I love it. I'm proud of it. It's great. And I'm going to do the next thing. And they just build momentum off of that. And I do think there is this two-pronged sort of attack method to your projects where you do need that critical eye. And maybe it does sometimes need to be another person. My issue is that I happen to be the subject and the edit.
Right, because it's your brand.
Yeah.
And it directly affects. Is there anything that plays into like the quality of the previous clips and sketches? And there's a brand that you've maintained, right? So like people expect a certain level of comedy. So is there an added pressure there?
Yeah, I mean, I always, you know, and I'm right now, I'm not even on social media right now because I take breaks and I just go like, I can't always be at the mercy of an algorithm or of someone else telling me I need to do something. I think a lot of us get into this business because we want to be our own bosses. We want to be the ones who can dictate our lives and have some, you know, and so we're now at the mercy of something else almost all the time. And so you do need that healthy break. And when you come back, when I come back, I always want to make sure I come back the right way. I always want to make sure I come back having learned something, having maybe grown just a little bit, or maybe just reset a little bit. So I can come back and just be like, all right, you're not a piece of shit. You know, people want to hear from you. Like even just talking with Moneray, she's like, you know, get back on your podcast. People want to hear from you. I'm like, people don't want to fucking hear from me. And she's like, yes, they do. They want to know why you're married and how it went and like all these things. Yeah. And it's just, that's hard. You know, even doing podcasts, like even doing other people's podcasts, like I would know I would be a great podcast host because I want to learn so much about the other person. Yeah. You know, like talking about myself is hard, even though it's something that you've been asking, and I think you're a great host.
Thank you.
I just think like, you know, I love to learn about other people, and I it's like this weird thing where it's like I want the attention to be off of me, but at the same time I want the work to be validated for what my abilities lend themselves to. So yeah, I don't know. And tell me if I'm, you know, this could be a too in depth of level of neurotic, but I just, you know, this is sometimes the push pull of the way.
No, I think this is great. I mean, getting into like why and how of how people operate and the honesty that you've shared so far, I think is super amazing. And if you feel like you've shared too much, I'll be happy to talk about myself.
No. I was just I mean, like I said, every time someone asks, you know, every time someone is like, "Hey, you should do my podcast," like I want to because I want to be. Like I want to be considerate of I want the opportunities, but at the same time it's like it's just I'm so there's just so much of this industry that pushes my comfort zone, right? You know, and I would just be so comfortable showing up, just writing, showing up, delivering it, listening back, improving, and then doing it the next day. Yeah. As far as stand up and you know, or anything else, and sometimes like you know, Theo and Tim and Santino and all these people, like they're just so good at just being like, you know, like they can just talk and they can just, you know, and maybe they've got demons that they have to address as well that I don't know about, but I know that they, from what I can see, they're just so like forthright with putting out whatever and being okay with whatever comes out. And
but you also just listed 4 of the top 10 podcasters in the world. So like I do this myself. I'll watch a comedy special and I'll go, well, my fucking jokes, god damn it. It's like, okay, this is a top tier guy who cooked out this joke for 2.5 years, right every single night, and you wrote that on a napkin at the restaurant this morning, and you haven't performed it for anybody. And I'm going, well, it's fucking same. I'm just not good.
Well, I mean, it's like, you know, it's like you God, you made me laugh so hard because you were saying like, you know, what I'll do is I'll write like storyboard like up on a whiteboard, and I'll be able to reorder everything that I want to write, but I don't have any punchlines to any of the things. And I'm just like,
it's the clown story, it's the bike story. Clearly, the clown has to go in front of the bike. I mean,
oh, that's the funniest shit to me, dude.
Yeah. Oh, you should see it. I mean, when we talk about bombing hard. And I'll sit in it too, like the silence.
Yeah, are you okay with it?
I love it. I mean, also, so we worked together. I was an AD, and on film sets, I'll sometimes have a microphone, voice of God. So I've got a lot of mic time. I've performed. You know, when I go to work, I'm trying to keep the crew like jovial or whatever. But
it's a big responsibility.
It is. Just trying to keep a good vibe on a set is hard enough.
Yeah.
But I've said some of the dumbest shit I've ever said. Trying to make some makeup lady just not be mad at me for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So when I'm standing in front of 3 to 8 people that I perform in front of, self-deprecating. Here we go. But I'm like, yeah, I can feel how uncomfortable you are, and I don't feel uncomfortable yet.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'll
great.
just sit in it.
That's great, though.
Bask in it, because a little part of me feels a little pleasure of making people feel uncomfortable.
That's great. I think that is like that's a somewhat of a rebel sort of mindset. You like there's something that I think is inherent in that being your natural instinct, because you're going against what the inclination is.
Yeah.
Everyone's instinct is to be like, that's uncomfortable, move on.
Yeah.
And if you're going to sit in it, there's actually more to be learned about. You're gonna shape that space that you either are or are not saying something. You're gonna shape that to what it is how you wanna be on stage, and what's gonna work and what's not.
Yeah.
Some comics actually only work that way. Some comics will write on stage, which sometimes just pisses me off. It's so tough. Like sometimes when someone I do a little bit of homework, just a little bit.
Yeah.
Sometimes they go and they just want to write on stage, and I get it if that's your process, but to ask me to kind of go along with you sometimes is a little more challenging if I think the bones of what you wrote or should have spent a little more time writing isn't fully, and I'm not saying everything has to be fully developed. I'm just saying, like, just write a thing. Write a thing.
A starting point.
Yeah, give me an intro and give me an outro. Let me know how you're going to get into it. Let me know how you get out. And I think that's where I always start, is like in the middle I can figure out. But give me, you need to bookend it, so at least I don't want to feel like I'm doing just as much work as you are, being the audience member,
Right. Am I writing your joke for you?
Yeah.
Are we writing your joke for you?
Yeah. Are we,
Do you just like vomit words until you hear a laugh and then go, I'm recording it on my phone and I'll write it down later?
Exactly. I feel so used. I feel so, and...
Well, it's disrespectful to all the people who like did the work and wrote.
Right.
Could crush that 10-minute, 15-minute set.
Yeah.
But you just happen to be a celebrity, so you're like, oh, bus stops are weird. It's like,
and it's just and some guys, they can be that good where they have just an idea, and then they can and that's great.
Yeah.
But that's almost no one. That's almost no one.
Yeah, there's like 3 people that have been doing comedy for 35 years.
Yeah.
And all of them are named Dave Chappelle.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so, but if that's truly your process, even if I would say about Dave, like if that's truly his process and that's where he feels like he's at right now, and then like, you have to honor what it is that your process is. And like, one of my favorite things about like my friendship with Moneray is she's someone who she's so like just honor whatever is going on right now. Mm-hmm. Whatever that is right now. That's part of the journey that's supposed to be happening.
Right, be present.
Now, and there's nothing really cerebral about that. That's just based on the way you feel, and that's hard for me.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, it's like I think I'm a heady person, and I want to analyze it, and sometimes, sometimes that's not required.
But back to your earlier comment about like doing everybody's podcast.
Yeah.
There is a level of energy that you have to give. There is a drain that happens to you to have a conversation with someone who you're either meeting for the first time or haven't seen, in our case, in 6 years.
Yeah.
So you want to go and be on as many shows as you can, or you want to record, like in my case, I want to record 3 a day. I just don't have the emotional energy to do more than 2 in one day, because by the end of the second hour and a half conversation, I just don't have any gas left in the tank.
Yeah, and so that's what I'm saying. You're a cat. I'm a cat as well.
Yeah.
Where it's just sometimes there's people who can just go, like they just get like I can feel my wife taking my energy from me. Mm-hmm. She's so extroverted that she just needs it, and there's people even in our scene who like they'll be chatting with other people, and they're that's just what they're just great at. They're just great. Like they're just, it's admirable when I watch it, but at the same time, I don't want to be something that I'm not, and I don't want to be fake to trying to talk to someone just for the purposes of advancing my career. Whatever it is, I want it to be genuine for what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So,
and I hope this doesn't come out as shit talking, but like, let's use Joe Coy for example.
Sure.
Like, he fills the room with his energy.
Yeah.
When he walks in, it's like everyone knows that the circus master is here.
Right.
And I'm Joe Coy, and I'm going to tell a story. And there could be 50 comics, but I'm going to be the comics comic. I'm going to be in here. I'm going to take up this room until I'm out of this room.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in a bad way at all.
I haven't spent a ton of time with Joe, but you would say he's very extroverted, just in his...
Very.
Yeah.
And it's... for cats, he's a dog for sure.
Yeah.
And for cats, it's like, even hanging with him, it's like, I'm going to give you your energy. You're going to either take it from me or I'm going to volunteer it.
Yeah.
And it's just a powerful like force to reckon with because he is such a strong presence. Yeah. And I don't mean that any of that disrespectfully.
No, I don't think it is. I think that's just the way he is, and that's the push pull that comes with any relationship. You know, it is mitigating a silent relationship, and sometimes you're the one that has to compromise, and sometimes you're not.
Yeah.
And so and if you're someone who doesn't compromise that to someone who's just so gregarious and so like I don't want to say over the top, but just, you know, so willing to just be like, this is what's going on. If you're unwilling, then you can be perceived as, you know, curmudgeon, or you can be an ass or whatever. But it's crazy because sometimes I almost have more respect for that. There's people out there who are just like, listen, I have a right to have my own thing. I'm not going to look up from my notebook. You can tell this whole thing. I'm not even going to look up from my notebook. Yeah. And then sometimes people will be like, why is it that that person is such a, like, that person's so like cold, or that person's almost distant or whatever. And then sometimes those types of people will feel they're the most misunderstood. They'll just be like, no one wants to be my friend. And it's just like, they also recognize their limits. Right. You know, they recognize that they're not willing to, that's not something they can give. And so, you know, I had a friend like that in high school. He was one of the most unliked people, and he was my friend, and he was opinionated. He would say what it was, and then people would just be like, that was really honest, and like, that hurt my feelings. And he was like, well, you asked, like, he was like, I'm just giving you what you asked, like you asked. So in his mind, he's like, you asked me to be honest, and I gave that to you, and he would just be like, I don't understand why people don't like me. And that's tough, you know,
because the more we learn to set our own boundaries, the more it's also our responsibility to learn and pick up on social cues and boundaries for other people. Yeah. So it's like, if this isn't something that you would accept in your life, don't impose it on someone else. Yeah. So just a very short example of that would be like, when I call somebody, your instinct is to answer. Nobody calls anybody anymore. Everybody texts. But instinctually, people just answer. Yeah. So my first question is, do you have a second? Or did you just answer the phone? Yeah. Instead of just bulldozing into like, okay, here's what's going on. So it's like, do you have a minute, or is it a better time? Yeah. And that's me just offering a little bit of respect to the other person on the phone. Like, I know I would have a boundary. And then when people call me and they go, do you have a minute? I'll say, you know, I'm free for the next 4 minutes, or I have an hour for you at 4:00 or whatever. Yeah. 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 And so going back to like talking about like podcasts and when we're doing people's podcasts, there is always a pressure to be funny all the time. Yeah. And I don't think and what I love is there are people out there who they just are, like, they're just so funny all the time. I prefer something like this, where we're talking about why things are the way they are, or that, you know, like the type of podcasts that I would do, it would be very hard for me to explain to a show that where the energy is normally up and up and up, you know, like I did like morning radio probably sucks for you. It's so hot, dude. It's brutal. You know, and like I did I felt that way when I did Corolla's show, and that show rolls with jokes, and it's not like I was glad to do it, and I was able to contribute and stuff, but I found myself being more interested in learning about what they were talking about as almost a listener
listener, and if they asked me something, I would have to go against feeling like, well, giving a very, not like a very down answer or an exact answer, and having to like write whatever or think of something very, very quickly in a funny way that fits that sort of format. So, that's another thing is why I don't feel like it's so funny to go on a podcast and be like, I'm not a good podcast guest, and here's why.
Let me give you an hour on why I don't do podcasts.
You made a mistake. I think there is a balance in the ethers of our business that is almost never struck, and that is because I don't think anybody is really that serious, or anybody has like a whole lot of depth to, or they do, but they're just not willing to show it, and so you're almost depriving yourself and other people of maybe their connection with you. And like I have, I'm sure you, like I have friends who I hang out with them, and I feel like the conversation always has to be silly and funny and
let me show you I'm a comic,
and let's talk about bits and stuff. And I just, it drains me because I'm someone who I think I need more than that. And when we're talking about the talk, like that was one of the allures of doing the talk in the first place. It was like, I feel like I have so much more to say that I could never tell people. Because I don't think that's the vibe.
That's kind of a little bit of a dichotomy that I'm stuck in now as a young comic, but an old person. I don't feel silly very often. Like people think I'm a very serious person, and inside my head I'm like fucking, but like I have to feel like some level of funny to be able to perform at my best.
Absolutely.
Or to even write.
Absolutely.
So when I'm sitting around and I'm like, I don't feel funny. I can't write right now because I can't feel funny. It's like, yes, that's definitely an excuse, but like it's my biggest challenge is that I haven't found my voice to write in yet. I feel like that's a cheat code. Once you unlock who you are, you can write anything in your voice.
Well, this is what you're saying is something that I only just like. I've been doing this for 11 years, and what you just said is something that I only recently found as a way to get out of a block. When I can't write something, when I feel like I'm being too when it's just too heavy, I don't know, when I'm just, and I'm just like, ugh, like this, I'll start thinking of it in a really silly way. I'll just start thinking in a very silly way. So like farts and dicks and all that stuff, like that stuff makes me kind of like whatever. And I won't be writing about that, but thinking about it in a silly way is somehow the thing that brings me to this buoyant place, and where you can operate on a different energetic sort of wavelength to get out of that moment. And then you go, oh, that's actually, now all of a sudden you're like thinking of it in a different way, and it's moving. Yeah. So sometimes you just have to be present and write through it. Yeah. I mean, that's true as well. But if I sit down like what you were talking about, where it's so heavy, where I'm just like, I can't write, and then all of a sudden I go to a place where I'm just like, I'm a piece of shit, I can't write, things are terrible, this needs to be the best, and it's not, and sometimes like you have to work so much more simply and so much more with so much more levity, I guess, in order to get to wherever it is you want it to get to. So it's like, it's so funny. You sit down and you go, I'm going to do this, and it's never that, I'm going to write the best 3 to 5 minutes. Yeah. And then all you do is like, where you're writing cat food recipes. And like, yeah. Now you were saying that you're naturally, you said you're naturally silly in your head, but you can't. I feel, this is so weird. It's like I'm torn because I feel outwardly serious and inwardly silly. Like I'm always trying to be that guy that's like, think of something funny to say, but my cover for not having the quickest, silliest thing to say is to say something serious. That's really funny. That's my ego protection would be, guys, we're late. We got to get going. Instead of being able to zing, 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 zing. Yeah. I feel like in a crowd work situation, I'm like pretty well armed. Yeah. But in like a green room situation, with professionals, and they're just, I'm like, cats, am I right? And some of that is just like me putting myself in the ranking of like, all right, that's Jerry Seinfeld and I'm Isaac Abrams. Like he's obviously going to talk about what's the deal, and then I'm going to be like, what is the deal? And he's going to be like, shut up, that's my thing. But I relate to that though. I relate so much to that. It's and I just think like I said, it goes back to this whole cat dog like fascination that I'm obsessed with right now, where it's like, when you control your own environment, you find yourself thriving in it, and that's that sort of singular allure that I think people like you and I have with stand up. And then there's other people who there's comics who come like, fucking like Joey Diaz. He'll come back to the green room and be like, what do you fucking think about this and he just launches into it, and you're just like, God, Joey, you're so funny. Like I could never do that. I could never, even if I just got done with a set, like he'll get done with a set and he'll just be like, what the fuck, when this and like I can't even do that.
It's the appearance of not giving any fucks that's so attractive.
Yeah, but when it comes naturally to people, then it's so much easier. You know, I would love to not give a fuck, and the only time I do is when I'm in my living room by myself and no one's home. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck, and then I get out and I'm like,
I brought all the fucks. I brought a bucket of fucks.
Yeah. So it's tough.
Well, it's good to hear that other people have, especially proficient people that are successful, have the same mental challenges that I do.
Yeah, I mean, I think like your willingness to sit in certain moments and experiment, and like I think that if you are like like you said you're older, I don't know how old you are, but like you said you're on the older side of whenever you're getting into this, despite being a young comic. Like there is sort of that's an advantage in that yourself, you do have the tools to go, okay, I'm grounded enough in myself to still be like, let me test this, or let me know this about myself. This isn't going to thwart me. I'm not going to feel turbulent at this time because I've got the foundation of myself.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you.
Well, yeah, I mean, just
I feel seen and heard.
Well, just as a
Do you think, not to change the subject?
No.
Do you think you'll ever write the book about cats and dogs? Do you ever think Cats and Dogs by Drew Lynch?
God damn it. I I don't know.
It doesn't have to be like, Lord of the Rings. It could just be, it could be a quick read. I think that would benefit a lot of people. I mean, that changes the way I'm looking at my current situation.
Well, and I don't know. Maybe I've every single person I've talked to this about, like who's talked to me about like a relationship issue or something like that, or who's asked me my opinion on whatever. Because there's a million different things. There's Myers-Briggs and there's Zodiac and there's all kinds of different things. I have cats and dogs, but I also think that there's another layer to it too, which I think there's also inside dogs and outside cats.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
that's the book too.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, so there's
You're going to start your online course ClickFunnels.
Yeah. My, what are they? MSMs? What are those?
MLM, multi-level marketing.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. Probably not.
Well, solid maybe is a fine answer.
Yeah.
We have done 1 hour and 8 minutes.
Okay.
Feels like 10.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like we talked about. It feels like I said a whole lot of shit, and I'm sorry about that.
No, don't be sorry. It was very insightful, and I learned a lot. And it doesn't matter if anybody else hears it. I'm never putting it out. Thanks for your time. Get the fuck out. If you don't mind, I have 7 questions. It's technically 8 that I ask everybody at the end of the episode.
Okay.
And I'm happy to prep you on them if you want to know what they are, and I'll cut the prep out, and or you want to dive right in? Surprise.
Yeah, surprise. Why not?
What is your favorite club or venue to perform comedy?
I love the Comedy Magic Club. I think they treat you so well.
Oh, in Hermosa Beach?
Yeah. I think they treat you so well. They've been so nice to me before I did any like TV stuff or whatever. Like I got to showcase for Richard, and he was like, "Yeah, you're green, but we come on back." And they've just always been really, really nice to me. So I love performing there.
Each of these questions will possibly have a follow-up question like this.
Sure.
Do you have a special place in your heart, or do you go back and reward the clubs that gave you your first, like that could see the talent before maybe your fan base caught on?
Yeah, I did. There was a comedy club down by San Diego. It was called Aces Comedy Club, and the owner he gave me like a headlining thing well before I did anything, and so then I went back and did a few shows there, and I used to do I started over at Flappers, and then I did some shows at Flappers afterwards. I haven't been back there in a while, but yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What's the weirdest place you've ever done stand-up?
2014, I did, I think, 590 sets, something ridiculous. I had this goal to do over 500 sets in a year because Tony Baker was like, yeah, you got to do 500 sets and then you'll get on TV. Just get that muscle going, 500 sets and then you'll get on TV. And ironically, 2 months after 2014 ended, 2015, I did America's Got Talent, so I got on TV. So it's pretty interesting. But
that's insane.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was
like
a lot.
If you don't live in New York, like, is that even possible in Los Angeles?
It was aggressive. My relationship suffered. My everything else suffered. My health suffered. But I still did. I still did it. Just because I wanted to like get that muscle. And so to answer your question, I've performed in laundromats. I performed at a Korean barbecue where I performed at a Mongolian grill. There was the Mongolian grills are the huge circular grills.
Yeah.
I did a college where I was spotlit and the room was dark, so I couldn't see anything. But I was right next to the Mongolian grill in the cafeteria. So it took me it was like a little bit behind me, and it took me a while to realize that the sizzle from the things was not like applause from the, like, I thought it was.
Oh, you thought it was?
I thought it was like clap. Yeah, I thought I'm telling you the way it sounded. I thought people were clapping and like laughing, and
you're
so,
just basking in it.
And so, I started committing harder. I started committing harder to the I'm just fucking killing this. And then it made me, when the guy took a break, the cook took a break, and then the lights came up, I realized all in like the same moment that there was not that no one was like, I think the organizers of the event, they were still there, but no one was in the audience. And then the cook told me afterwards, because I got a free meal, so I went there, and the cook told me afterwards, he was like, hey man, that was all right.
Oh no, you got an all right?
Yeah, it was all right.
Whoa. Well, he was distracted. He was cooking.
Yeah. So that was one of the weirder shows.
Yeah, that one will stick with you, right?
Yeah.
What is the weirdest thing that you saw or did as a kid? We're looking for like a Stand By Me situation. Did you see a clown in a drain? Did you find a dead body on a train track?
Oh shit. Weirdest thing as a kid.
You like go find a hobo shack in the woods? Was there a massive car wreck that, like, we'll get into supernatural shit later, but.
Ooh. Wow. Damn, dude, I'm sorry.
This catches a lot of people by surprise.
Yeah, because you have to really think.
A lot of that traumatic shit, you're like, I don't want to think about that all the time.
I don't know that. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So when I was really young, there was a church that we went to daycare. Like, we went to like a daycare. It was like a church daycare thing, and it was almost like a Sunday school, but during the week. Mm-hmm. And there were really, really strict. They're not nuns, because we're not. Was that Catholic? We're not nuns.
Yeah, Catholics are nuns.
No, yeah. So we're not. It wasn't that.
They're just daycare ladies?
Like daycare ladies, but they were like very formal, and it was very, so I went to like very, very Christian church, and a very Christian church, and then a very Christian like preschool thing. And I remember I just remember kids just crying, and there were, I just think it's just because the ladies were so strict, and it was just so cold. Like it was down in this basement, so it was like below the church, and so like the windows are, the windows. Yeah,
they're up at the top of the ceiling. Yeah, but they're like one foot.
Yeah, and so it just if I could say that I never witnessed anything that was like, something's not right here, but something was definitely not just from a vibe standpoint, right there.
Wonder if the church's cemetery was next to, because you're underground, that would be lateral.
Yeah.
Like in this building right here, that's dirt right there because we're built into it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe. But yeah, as far as like anything traumatic, there's nothing that I'm sure there's stuff, but there's nothing that I can.
I would hope no one would unload their trauma.
Yeah.
But it's just like, there was a thing a couple years ago where people were dressing up as clowns and like standing in the woods by the highway. Just
yikes.
Weird shit, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. We had an unlimited amount of weird shit growing up in North Carolina. So.
Well, you grew up in North Carolina?
Mm-hmm.
Where?
Raleigh.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they stamped me on the way out. I haven't gotten my California.
You know Good Nights?
I do.
Yeah, it's a good club.
Yeah, it's very small.
It is a small club, but I mean, it's God, dude, they gotta fix the AC there.
Well, I never performed there. I didn't do comedy when I lived there. I moved here 16 years ago.
Oh, okay.
I only went to Good Nights one time.
Oh, okay.
And it's next to a massive country mega complex.
Yeah.
Where you ride the bull and stuff.
Yeah.
So my memory of it was like, oh, there's 8 tables in here, but it could be 200 or 300 seaters. I don't know. It's been so long.
Yeah, I think it seats like a little over 200 or something. But the last time I performed there, the AC broke, and it was in July.
Oh, fuck that!
It was brutal, man. It was brutal.
If you've never been to North Carolina in July, it's all humidity.
Yeah, it was so bad. Like they had opened the doors while the show was going on. Like it was. Yeah. It was brutal.
Yeah, they have an improv in Raleigh, but it's really in Cary.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Where's Cary?
Cary's out by the airport.
Oh. Okay. Interesting.
It's newish. It's like 2 to 3 years old.
Yeah. Did you watch The Staircase, by the way?
I did not.
That guy's based in Raleigh.
Is that a horror movie?
It's on Netflix. It's based on a real life guy. It's called The Staircase.
Oh shit.
Yeah, you gotta check it out.
I will watch that.
Yeah.
Tonight.
Yeah.
While I'm supposed to be writing jokes.
Yeah, I was like, oh no, I'm enabling.
Yeah. Yeah, you ever heard of Drew Lynch? He's why I'm not funny. That's his fault. Have you ever seen a UFO or a ghost? That kind of could bleed into the first question.
Oh. Huh. I have seen a UFO. I think almost everybody has at this point.
Something is unidentified.
Yeah.
And they call them UAPs now, I think.
Why?
Unidentified phenomenon aerial. I don't know.
Huh.
Oh, aerial phenomenon.
Aerial phenomenon. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, I have. But ghosts? No. But again, I go back to like certain vibes that I've had. Just certain vibes in certain places. Things that just don't feel, right, or if you get into like the supernatural of it all, where it's like, oh, that was weird timing, or that was weird, that person said that weird thing. One
more second and this car would have hit
you. Yes, exactly. Actually, stuff like that. I used to ride a motorcycle, and I was on a car. I was going to turn. I went the other. I normally was going to turn left to go back home, but for whatever reason, I was like, it's a beautiful day. I'm going to take the longer route, and so I went straight rather than making that left-hand turn. And so I'm in the middle lane, and then there's a car that's in the left-hand lane, and then a car turning from the left hit that car and completely blew it out. So if I was there, on a motorcycle, I would have been fucked. But just weird stuff like that. Where you're just like, hey, thank you, whatever that was. Thank you.
You missed the flight and the flight crashed.
Yeah, kind of like that.
Are you in the Million Mile Club? That's not on the questions. I just ask comics sometimes.
Yeah, is that where you have like miles, like for like of airline?
Yeah.
Yes.
You have to be, right?
Yeah.
You're on 3 planes a week.
Yeah. So, I actually spent a bunch of points for all my poor friends to come fly out to the wedding. They're like, oh, I wish I could, man, but I'm like, oh, fucking, you're not missing my fucking wedding. I hired a choreographer for 3 months, so I paid for people with points to get out to my wedding.
That's cool. Was your wedding recent this summer?
Yeah, it was this past summer.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, so we got got married, and then like a week later we got the house. It was like a grown up fucking Sims starter kit or whatever.
It's like a mafia wedding. Someone gifted you the house. Like, here's a little something to get you started, kids. I'm your Uncle Joey. This is your new property on the lake.
Oh, whole fucking house.
Bernie Sanders is your neighbor. Don't worry about it. I probably know the answer to this question, being that you're from Indiana, and I heard that you lived in Vegas for a little while, but we don't need to touch on that until
okay.
2 questions from now.
Yeah.
Have you ever experienced a natural disaster? Tornadoes, fires, fly. I'm pretty sure you know.
Tornado, yes.
Yeah.
Tornado, yes. There was a tree on my in my neighbor's yard growing up in Indy, and there was this tornado and the drill, or not drill, but tornado, because we did drills in school, but there was a tornado, like a warning, and it dropped down in our neighborhood, just in the cul-de-sac area. And when we went outside, there was a not like a McDonald's straw, but one of those what are they, the
Capri Suns?
No, they're no. They're you know, like they're like they're not. They're kind of like jagged, like this, kind of like.
Are they like bendy straws?
No, they don't do that. They don't do that, but they look like they would.
Right, where they have little swirls in them?
Yeah, like on the outside.
Like a swirly
they're
straw.
Ribbed. Yeah, they're like ribbed on the outside, basically. That we went out to our neighbor's tree. The tree was completely destroyed, and a straw went through the fucking tree.
Wow.
It was like,
you always hear about that in the PSAs. They're like, straws can go through windows.
It went through. It was in this. It was in, and it was a really like tiny tree. I mean, and it was wrecked. But it was crazy that the tornado just went and then.
Those were the straws that you got in like slushies and stuff, like the big thick ones.
Yes,
You got them
like,
at the fair with the cup would curve up like this.
Yes.
And they didn't bend, but they would flex in the
exactly.
Those
That's what I'm talking about.
Straws.
They are some tough ass straws.
Yeah, you get them at the fair.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Cool. I'm gonna have to go get one of those. Let's see here. We did natural disaster. What is your favorite vacation destination?
Hawaii.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, Hawaii's beautiful. It's expensive.
Which island?
Maui.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have one in mind that you've never been to? Like, do you have a vacation destination, or it's like, I'm always going to Maui. I've been there, I've seen it, I'm always going back.
It's funny. I think Mexico is so much cheaper than Hawaii.
Yeah.
It's almost the better answer. Like there's a resort in Cancun that's like beautiful, and it's all inclusive, and actually that might be my answer. It's between that or Hawaii, but I always want to go to somewhere warm. I'm not crazy about like the cold. Like Vermont's so cold, and this past winter, my wife and my father-in-law, they were like, it's minus 22 today.
No thanks.
And they were like, we should at least go outside just to experience it.
Yeah.
And I was like, what are you insane? So we walked across a lake, the lake that we got the house on. We walked across it. For maybe 5 minutes or whatever, but we bundled like it. You couldn't see anything, and you have to cover up as much as you can from your eyes, because your eyes will water, and then your eyelids will stick together because of how cold it is.
Snow blindness.
So you'll get like little frosted tips here.
Just joining a boy band in the middle of a lake.
It was just somewhere warm every single time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a bone to pick with all inclusive, because one of my first all inclusives, I didn't know that the restaurants that you really want to eat at are extra. It's like you can eat at the cafeteria all day long for free, booze is included. But like if you want to go to the nice steakhouse, you're paying for it. You want to get sushi, you're paying for it. This was in the Bahamas.
Oh, not this place.
Oh, really?
Not this place.
Any restaurants open?
Any restaurant.
Oh, I'm gonna have to get the name of that.
I will tell you off air, because I don't want anybody else to know.
Right.
But I'll tell it to you, and it is. I've been there, I think 3 times. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And unlimited booze.
Yeah, everything's. It's all inclusive. They have a coffee shop there. They have a cigar lounge there. Those you have to pay for, but they have a cigar lounge there. The coffee shop, everything, and pastries as well, like fresh, different pastries. I think they have a hibachi grill. They have Indian, French, Brazilian steakhouse, and American restaurant, buffet, and breakfast. I think they have 7 restaurants there on campus, and then they've got different activities that you can sign up for during the day. Like you can take like an archery course, you can take like Spanish, or you can do like trivia. I'm serious.
You can take Spanish.
Yeah, you can take Spanish. I'm serious. They have that, and then and you can take like basket weaving and like it's just weird. And you're just like, I would never do that, but there's nothing, you know.
Yeah.
And the pools are amazing. The beach is great.
Some people that have to stay busy are into that shit. They're like 7 a.m. to 7:15 is Spanish, and then I'm going straight into underwater basket weaving, and then I'm getting on a jet ski.
Yeah, and you could do that for a day.
Yeah,
but
there's always one person too. If you go on a trip with your family, there's always like one distant aunt that's like, "I got itineraries for everybody," and you're like, "Fuck off, Aunt Linda. I'm sleeping on the beach today."
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I will absolutely tell you that place. It's great.
Sweet. Do you like Las Vegas?
I do like Las Vegas. I do. I consider it to be, because I lived 8 years in Indy and then 10 years in Vegas.
You lived there for 10 years.
Lived there for 10 years. So from like
wow.
8 to 18, I lived there.
It's very hot there.
It is very hot there.
What's it like growing up? Your formative years in
Vegas.
Yeah,
it's people always think like it's so crazy. It's just like if you don't live on the strip, you know what I mean?
No. Yeah.
But sometimes if you wanted to go to the movies, which were always in the casinos, you would have to pass like, you know, a guy who lost everything a second ago. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
In that way, I think I'm desensitized to that environment, but it's it's weird when you go on the strip, but now when I go back, it feels so much smaller to me than to any other person. Every other person's like, wow, and I'm just like, you know, I know all the things, I've seen all the stuff.
When you go back, do you go and stay on the strip on property somewhere?
Yeah, I will. Yeah. I actually will. I mean, I'm actually grateful for growing up around that, because now I don't really gamble. You know, I'm not a huge drinker, so and like I just kind of experience it in a different way, because you know it's just I grew up around it. So
yeah, and now you're probably going a lot for work.
Yeah, I'll go to yeah, but you know, my wife, she'd never been to Vegas prior to when she went this summer, and I was so afraid. I was like, she's gonna hate it, it's gonna be terrible, and she actually had a great time. I mean, and if you're into a lot of the stuff like clubbing and drinking and naked people, like who's not into all that stuff, I guess. But if you're into all that stuff, you know, like it's an adult playground for sure.
Yeah.
I think one of the coolest things that I did was my senior year. We did a scavenger hunt, scavenger hunt all across the strip. So we would go to this hotel and at like the Mandalay Bay in the, you know, in like the at like the zoo exhibit or whatever, they've got like a little piece of paper that tells us whatever the clue for the next thing is.
Yeah.
We broke up into like 4 different cars, and we were in 4 different teams. And 2 of the cars, when we met at the parking lot before we started, and 2 of the cars actually backed into each other when we were like ready, go, and 2 of the cars backed into each other, and so they got out and had to exchange like all their information and like talk to their parents, and so they were immediately disqualified. So it was like us and like I think one other car, and yeah, it was really cool.
That's hilarious. You're like, well, now I got a 50-50 shot at winning.
Yeah. I don't even think either team, like I think we got stumped around like clue like 5 or 6. I don't think either team even finished, but
it's like, well, we're here at the pool, so might as well go for a swim. I love Vegas. I go there quite a lot. Big fan.
It's great.
Yeah, I like it for all the reasons you don't like it, though. I'm a drinker and a gambler.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the environment I think is really cool, but when you can just drop, you know, $400 on craps and then in a minute and then you're done, and then like you're out that money, you're just like, oh, that's real.
That is real.
That's real.
But it's real that you could also make that into more money. It's not real for a lot of people.
The way you're talking is why Vegas exists. But
they didn't build it on winners. Come on down to Las Vegas. We'll guarantee you win. No, so they built it on people that don't know when to stop.
Yeah.
And I used to be that guy. I used to go very early when I moved here. I was a PA. I had no money. And we would all pile into a car, and I was like, I'm going to take the $200 I have left to my name, and I'm going to change my station. And of course, I would lose it.
Yeah.
But now, since I've progressed and I'm a grown up and I have an adult job, I like to go, I'm going to take this much money, and some of this is for nice dinners, and some of it's for the room, and some of this is for gambling. And when that's done, I'm going to go to the ATM and pull out more money.
It's absolutely right. But my grandfather, he was very disciplined. He was a professional craps player for 3 years, 4 years. He wrote a book about it, actually. And that's just the cardinal rule. It's just, you whatever number you make, you walk, and whatever number you lose, you walk.
Yeah, it's tough to walk when you're up.
Yeah, but whatever that number is, like, if it's 10 grand, whatever, if it's $5,000 or whatever, you're like, I just made, I'm good for however many months, and that's what he did.
Yeah. We could talk about betting and sports betting and craps for hours.
I'll bet.
We'll save that for the next time. And now it's time for the most difficult question I'll call it a session.
Oh, okay.
What's the best meal you've ever had your whole life?
Oh, actually not difficult at all.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Everybody else is like, oh, God damn it, I don't know.
No, the best meal I ever had was at a Michelin star restaurant in Spain. It was in Barcelona, and everything was movie themed. So they would serve us like the brain of a lamb, not even joking, and it would be like Silence of the Lambs themed. And so even the presentation of it looked like a murder scene. It was like really cool. And like I remember, one of them was like after like an Ernest Hemingway, F. Scott Fitzgerald. What's the Great Gatsby?
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Great Gatsby had a dish, and then I remember dessert was like something like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and it was
fun.
like they had like a river that built down, and it was one of the coolest experiences ever, and and since then that will be where I don't spend a lot of money on things or items or anything. That's not who I am. Mm-hmm. But money for like dinners and stuff, like my wife and I will go to like Michelin star places whenever we're at a thing. So once you find one experience at a Michelin star place, you're like, dear God, like that all the time. All everywhere.
Yeah. Let me get these Michelins.
Yeah. Have you ever been to one? I
haven't been to a Michelin. Best case, I have a terrible memory, but I would remember being at a Michelin.
Okay. Yeah. I mean,
I didn't get into fine dining until late into my 30s.
Okay.
So. Yeah.
I would. You have to go. I mean, it's like there aren't, I think, many in Los Angeles, but in New York,
I think there's only 2.
Yeah, are there? Yeah.
I think there's a 1 and a 3.
Yeah. See, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. The 3 is the sushi place that's like booked for months. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought the fanciest restaurant in Los Angeles was Mastro's until about 3 months ago, and I'm not even making a joke. Like, I said that seriously to a woman who grew up here, and her parents lived next door to Elton John.
Oh, wow.
And she was like, oh, sweetheart. That's like the Golden Corral of Beverly Hills.
Yeah. Which is a really nice restaurant still. Mastro's is a nice restaurant.
I've gone there so many times thinking I'm going to the best restaurant in LA. And people are like, that's not even on the list.
Yeah. But Michelin stars. That's like there is one in Vegas. I think it's like a 1 or a 2 star, and it's really good. They bring out like a whole cheese cart, and you get to be like, I want this cheese and that cheese and then that cheese and that cheese. Yes, and you get to
fancy cheese picking.
Yeah, you act a way that you're definitely not, but you're like, I would like this and that, please, and this.
Get this fucking cheese out of here. Never bring me that cheese ever again. That's the worst cheese.
That's exactly right.
See that fucking cheese again, you're fired.
Yeah. So we did that, and then at one point my wife and I, we went to one in London. It was 12 courses.
Wow.
And they had a different alcohol with each course, and at around course 5 I was like, I can't keep drinking, like this is a lot. Mm-hmm. And so my wife drank every one from my meals and then every one from her meals.
Nice.
Got
the wife loaded that night, huh?
Well, she wanted to. She was like, I'll do it, and I was just like, Jesus Christ. So she definitely threw up all over the. She did.
Yeah.
She threw up all over the hotel, but it was a great meal.
Well, Yeah, they dine differently overseas, don't they?
Yeah, it's hours.
Yeah.
It's like hours, and it's always much later.
It's just, it starts at 8 and it goes to midnight.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, that was our evening.
Yeah. I mean, but it's just like a full glass. It wasn't like just samples of pours. Like there were full glasses of wine with each meal.
So they expected you to drink 12
I mean, they didn't
glasses.
expect. I can't imagine they would expect somebody to do that. That's ridiculous. But it was a 12-course meal, and they had a different drink paired with every single one.
Wow.
It was, I mean, like initially it was amazing, and we were like, you're like excited. But then when you're at like course 6, and they're like, all right, and you're looking at the menu, and there's 5 more coming, you're just like, I can't do it.
Yeah. I do that at Momofuku. Is that the one? The hand roll place, the sushi hand roll place where they just feed it to you one at a time? So you can order 3, 4, or 5, 4, 5, or 6. This is in the marina.
I don't know.
It's by the same people that do Sugarfish. But this is a hand roll place, and you can only sit there. But they'll make it, and they'll hand it to you one at a time. So I ordered 6, and by the time I ate my second or third one, I was like, I'm going to need like 4 more of these. And then when you get to your 6th one, you're like, I can't eat any more. And you have 4 more coming.
Is this... Yeah, it also has to do with the pace too.
Yeah.
Because if you slow down how quickly you eat, you get full.
And it's all that rice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we eat so bad here in America where we're just like, I eat like literally, I eat standing up. I eat standing up every time. I hold the bowl or the plate in this hand, and then I eat with like, I hold it.
That's your preference, to eat standing up?
I guess.
Or you're just on the go?
I'm just, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just on the go, so I eat that way. But I think I know the place are you talking about? Is it in like Beverly Hills area?
It's right by the boats in the marina.
Okay, so
you know the 2 white buildings that look exactly like each other, and it might not even be called Momofuku. It's no, it's not izakaya. I'm fucking this up. Everybody at home is like, it's mammy, whatever.
No, but there was one that I went to in Beverly Hills, very similar to that, and they did like they also had a sake that they poured that had like little bits of gold in it.
Oh.
So I was like, yeah, I'll drink gold.
Yeah, like Goldschlager.
I'll drink that. Yeah,
I feel fancy. The Drew Lynch is here. Pour me my golden beverages, you wench.
And get that cheese out of here.
Get the cheese out of here. Not on this Vermont estate, I say. Hilarious. Yeah. Drew, thank you for coming.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I had so much fun.
Yeah, this was great. I learned a lot.
I'm glad that we got to have like some serious chats.
Yeah. I am too. And if you want to shout out your socials again, I'm sure everybody knows, but drewlynch.com is pretty much the hub for everything.
That works. That's fine.
And you can see the special Concussed right there on YouTube.
Yep.
But your YouTube is a different /, but you could just search YouTube for...
Yeah, it's just
Cool.
I'll search my name. I should come up.
Well, you're all here anyway because of Drew, not because of me. But thank you for watching the Isaac Abrams Show. Consider subscribing if you had a good time. We got a lot of other amazing guests coming up. And we'll see you next time on the Isaac Abrams Show.